Hi, welcome to Fong's Fables. Let's start the story now. My dad invested $200,000 with my uncle to open a roast duck restaurant. 3 years have passed, and he hasn't received a single cent of the profits. Meanwhile, my uncle bought a car and a house, but kept telling my dad the business wasn't making money. My dad couldn't take it anymore and ended up hitting him. My uncle, being the cunning man he is, didn't fight back. Instead, he called the police, had my dad detained, and even made him pay a $3,000 fine. When my dad got out, my uncle smirked and said, "Little brother, you're still too inexperienced to go against me. Just wait, maybe one day, if I'm in a good mood, I'll throw you a bone." That sent my dad straight to the hospital from sheer anger. What my uncle doesn't know is that a year ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He messed with the wrong family. His good days are numbered. My mom, worried and frustrated, sighed, "What can we do? This isn't the first time. Every year, we go ask him for money, and every year, he says he doesn't have any. At this rate, we'll never get it back." My dad let out a heavy sigh. "Once I get out of the hospital, I'll go see him again. Sue has stomach problems. Treatment costs a fortune. If she doesn't take care of it, the pain will be unbearable. She's young and health is the real wealth." He continued, "Besides, her job only pays $3,000 a month. I want to get her some money to open her own shop. Working for others is just survival. If you want to make real money, you have to run your own business." I stood at the door, hand on the handle, hesitating for a moment before pushing it open. I placed the fruit on the table and put on a bright smile. "Dad, come on, at your age, you should be more careful. How do you even manage to fall while going to the bathroom?" 3 days ago, I had my usual phone call with my parents. Halfway through, I casually asked, "Mom, where's Dad?" Every time when I video called home, whether they were cooking or resting, my parents would always be there together, chatting and laughing with me. This time, my mom's eyes flickered, and she kept changing the subject. I got anxious. "Mom, where exactly is Dad? What happened? If you don't tell me, I'll take a cab home right now." Only then did she finally admit, "He fell and got sent to the hospital. But it's nothing serious, he told me not to bother you." If I hadn't overheard their conversation at the door, I would have believed it. My dad, trying to act tough, said, "It's really no big deal. The doctor said I can be discharged this afternoon." I just smiled and didn't say anything. That night, my mom cooked all my favorite dishes. "Sue, if you don't like that job, then quit. You're always working overtime. It's too much for your health. We'll find something else. Your dad and I have some savings. We can support you for a while." Ever since I was hospitalized for stomach problems 2 months ago, they've been on edge, constantly sending me articles about the dangers of skipping meals, terrified it might turn into stomach cancer. What they don't know is that I was actually fired a long time ago because of my mental health. Now I survive on freelance gigs. I smiled. "Don't worry about me. I have hands and feet. I won't starve." The next morning, I woke up and didn't see my dad. I put on my workout gear and told my mom I was going out for a run. After running, I wandered to my uncle's roast duck shop. The place was packed, every table full, a long line of customers waiting outside. Business was booming. And there, in a small alley beside the shop, my dad was holding onto my uncle's hand, pleading, "Big brother, I don't even want a big share, just return my $200,000. If that's too much, at least give me $150,000. Sue's health isn't great, and she's at the age to settle down. We need to save some money for her." My uncle, smoking an expensive cigarette, a thick gold chain around his neck, pretended to be troubled. "Little brother, it's not that I don't want to give you money, but the business isn't as good as it looks. We're barely making anything. My house and car? All on loans. We're family. Would I really deceive you?" My dad looked like he was about to kneel, desperation written all over his face. "Big brother, you at least have a house and car. When Sue's mom was sick a few years ago, we spent all our savings. Now my pension isn't much." My uncle smirked and pulled out a measly $100, handing it to my dad. "Here, take this. I really don't have more. Maybe in a few years, if the shop finally turns a profit, I'll pay you back. Or," he grinned, "if you kneel down and beg me, I'll give you $5,000. Seeing my dad's knees slowly bending, I snapped. I stormed in, grabbed my uncle by the collar, and slammed him against the wall. "Your shop is thriving, and you dare say you're not making money? Uncle, have some shame. 3 years ago, my dad agreed to invest without hesitation. You promised a 50-50 split. Now you're acting like this? Back then, my family had at least $500,000 in savings. Not rich, but comfortable. My uncle, on the other hand, was just a farmer struggling to get by. One day, he came to our house with a roast duck in hand, speaking earnestly. "Little brother, my son learned how to roast duck in Bright Coast. Look, this is his work, try it." We took a bite. It was pretty good. My uncle rubbed his hands nervously. "Here's the thing. He's been working for a few years now, but he barely saves anything. He's at the age to settle down, and his mother and I are worried. As parents, we just want the best for our kids, right?" He claimed to have done his market research, said the roast duck business was bound to be successful. The only issue? They were short on funds. Opening a shop required at least $250,000, but they only had $50,000. "Ray, can you pitch in $200,000? It's not charity, we won't take advantage of you. You just provide the funds and we'll handle everything, management, operations. We split the profits 50-50 every 6 months." I had a bad feeling about it. Uncle never brought good news. Whenever he came, it was always "the pig feed ran out. Can we borrow some money?" Or "Grandma's sick. Can you help with medical expenses?" Small amounts, but never repaid. And now here we are. The last time my uncle came to us was half a year ago. He brought 2 bundles of cabbage over for dinner, and after a few rounds of drinks, he begged my dad to pull some strings and find my cousin a good job. My dad, who had spent his whole life being independent and avoiding asking for favors, swallowed his pride and managed to get my cousin into a friend's son's company as an operations assistant with a monthly salary of $3,500. But my cousin barely lasted 2 months before complaining that preparing for the annual Great Online Sale, registering for promotions, and working overtime was too exhausting. He went straight to the boss, demanding a $1,000 raise or he'd quit. The boss, out of respect for my dad, kindly explained, "You've just joined the company and have no experience in this field. We provide overtime pay, and once you prove yourself, we can talk about a raise." But my cousin caused a huge scene in the office, yelling in front of everyone, "If it weren't for my Uncle Ray, I wouldn't even bother working at this lousy company. Four-eyed freak, I've tolerated you long enough. Driving a Benz around while being stingy with raises. Screw you. Anyone who wants this crappy job can have it. I'm out." My dad had to apologize profusely before the matter was finally settled. Now back to the roast duck shop. "Ray, my brother, you can't just rely on your pension. Sue will need a lot of money in the future." My dad hesitated. "Is the roast duck business really viable?" My uncle assured him over and over. "Of course. Roast meat shops are booming right now. If we don't jump in soon, we won't even get the scraps." With that, my dad decided to take a gamble. After all, we had some savings. Why not try to turn a bicycle into a motorcycle? Turned out, my dad bet on the right business, but the wrong person. He never saw a single cent. My uncle froze for a second before violently shaking off my hand. "Sue, who taught you to be so disrespectful? Look around, there are people everywhere. Can you at least act civilized?" I reached out my hand. "Fine, then give my dad his share. Right now." He grinned, revealing yellowed teeth, spitting as he spoke. "Sue, you've never run a business, so you don't understand how much money it takes. The first 2 months, we replaced all the tables and chairs to improve customer experience, signed supply contracts, and bought 2 machines. Money goes everywhere. If I weren't treating you as family, I would have asked you to invest more by now. And this month, we're planning renovations. If you don't understand how hard business need to survive, then forget it." Before he could finish, I slapped him across the face, yanked the gold chain off his neck, and spat on the ground. "Listen up, I don't have an education, I don't have manners, and I don't have patience either. This necklace? Consider it interest. You have 2 days. Either split the money or return my dad's $200,000. Otherwise, next time, it won't just be a slap." Just then, my cousin rushed out from the shop. Seeing the scene, he exploded. "Sue, you hit my dad. I'll fight you." I turned and kicked him in his fat belly. "Yeah, I hit your dad and now I'm hitting you too." He tried to fight back, but my uncle held him back. "Don't hit her." He pointed a shaking finger at me. "Sue, just you wait. We'll see who wins in the end." I casually tossed the gold chain in my hand, feeling its satisfying weight. This bastard really knew how to enjoy life. This thing had to be worth at least $30,000. Barely half an hour after my dad and I got home, there was a loud knock at the door. My mom opened it to find my uncle and cousin standing there, furious, with 2 police officers behind them. That's her. She's the one who hit me. My uncle pointed at me. My son's stomach, she kicked him there. And she robbed me of my gold chain. Officers, you have to exercise your authority. My cousin clutched his belly and nodded frantically. Yes. If she dares to act like this in broad daylight, who knows what she'll do next? She's a dangerous criminal. My mom looked at us, confused. My dad tried to step forward and take the blame, but I stopped him, smiling slightly. Do you have any proof that I hit you? Or that I took your chain? The two officers exchanged glances before turning to my uncle. You said this happened in the alley, right? That's a blind spot for security cameras. Do you have any eyewitnesses or footage to prove she attacked you? My uncle froze, then started yelling. Officers, just look at my face. Do I need more proof? That alley has no cameras, but you can check the ones outside. And my chain, she stole it. Search her house, you'll find it. Just then our upstairs neighbor, Granny Louise, happened to walk by. She muttered, "That can't be right. We've been neighbors for years, and this family is kind and helpful. But that man, every time he comes around, his mouth spats out vulgarities constantly. I can hear him from upstairs." My uncle's throat tightened. "Granny, this has nothing to do with you. Just because you're not missing anything doesn't mean you can stand there and talk nonsense." The officers hesitated. "All right, let's search the house. If we find the gold chain, we'll have to take action accordingly." Granny Louise shuffled back to her home with her groceries, while I stepped aside. "That alley isn't your personal property, you know. Just because I walked out of it, that means I hit you? What if one day you jump off a building? Will you blame random passersby for not stopping you?" I answered back sarcastically. However, I cooperated fully with the officers. "But," I added, "if you don't find anything, I want him to kneel and apologize for falsely accusing me." My cousin sneered. Fine. If the gold chain's there, we won't settle privately. We will deem as she committed robbery and should be locked up for years." My uncle and the officers began searching my room, then the living room. Even the toilet lid was lifted in frustration. But as the search dragged on, my uncle grew increasingly agitated. How is this possible? Where the hell is it?" I sat leisurely on the sofa, sipping tea with my parents, while my uncle and cousin stared me down. Finally, my uncle stormed up to me, livid. "Sue, where did you hide it?" I shrugged innocently. "Uncle, what are you talking about? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why would I ever steal your necklace?" The police searched for a long time but found nothing. Wiping the sweat off their foreheads, they looked a bit impatient. "We didn't find anything. Since there's no evidence, this is a family matter. Settle it among yourselves. If you get proof, then come back to us." As my uncle was about to leave with the officers, I shut the door with a loud bang, my lips curling into a faint smile. "Uncle, are you two going to kneel on your own, or should I help you?" I moved behind them. Panic set in as my uncle shouted, "Ray, aren't you going to control your daughter? I'm her elder." My dad pretended not to hear and simply turned to head back into his room. My cousin's face turned pale. "Sue, you just want money, don't you? Name your price. How much to settle this?" 10,000. 10,000. You might as well rob me." My uncle exploded. "You're not even worth that much if I sold you. I'd rather kneel than give you a single cent." I chuckled. "Classic. You're stingy to the bone." "Fine. We'll give you 8,000. Take it or leave it." My cousin gritted his teeth. I pulled out my phone and opened the QR code for payment. I'd be a fool to refuse. After they left, my mom leaned in and whispered, "Sue, did you really take his gold necklace?" I smirked and gestured vaguely before heading to the bathroom. From a hidden corner near the window, I retrieved a tiny recording device. Earlier, on my way back to my room, I had overheard my uncle and cousin scheming inside the bathroom. "Sure, Sue must have hidden it somewhere. With the bug in place, she'll eventually slip up." My parents looked utterly shocked. I raised my voice loud and clear. "Mom, of course I didn't take it. I'd never stoop so low as to cheat my own family. Money gained that way comes with consequences. I'd rather earn it fair and square." My mom struggled to hold back her laughter. "You're right. My daughter has integrity. How could she ever do something so shameless?" After a long and exhausting day, I passed out as soon as I hit the bed. That night, I woke up staring at the ceiling, lost in thought, until my mom gently shook my arm. "Sue, dinner's ready. Eat something before you sleep." I nodded and dragged myself to the table. But before I could take a few bites, my grandma's call came through. "Ray, I'm not feeling well again. My old illness is acting up. Transfer me 10,000 now. I need to go to the hospital. No need to guess. I knew this was my uncle and cousin's idea. Otherwise, there was no way they would have handed over that 8,000 so easily. My dad frowned. Mom, can't you ask my brother? We're in a tight spot right now. We really don't have 10,000 to spare. You have the nerve to bring up your brother? Grandma's voice turned sharp. Your siblings, does it really matter who gives a little more or less? He's successful now, and when I'm gone, won't he be the one helping you out? She clicked her tongue. Ray, I hate to say this, but you've also done a terrible job raising that daughter of yours. Sue is so young, yet she dares argue back with her elders, hit them, steal from them, and even make them kneel. My dad's tone hardened. Mom, my brother refuses to return my investment money, and you expect me to ask him for help? And Sue only hit him because he was being unreasonable. Besides, you're still healthy. Why do you always rely on my brother? Enough talking, just send me the money. Mom, I don't have any money with me. With that, my dad hung up. Grandma had always played favorites, but never this blatantly. She'd call when she needed something, acting like she cared about my dad's well-being. She'd even send my uncle over with a few eggs from the countryside, pretending it was out of love. As long as she didn't go too far, we didn't expose her. Dad, stop going to my uncle. I'll get the money back myself. I assure him. My debt's sight. That won't work. Your health is the priority. Treating your condition will cost a lot of money. You guys don't have to worry about me. Stomach issues are common. I'll be fine after some rest. My mom whispered. But your condition needs long-term treatment. I heard her clearly, but before I could respond, my dad cut in loudly. Stop talking nonsense, woman. My mom's tears fell instantly. I don't want to pretend anymore, Sue. We found your hidden diagnosis. We know you have bipolar disorder. If we hadn't discovered it ourselves, how much longer were you planning to keep it from us? My heart clenched. So they had known all along. No wonder they kept finding excuses to give me money. I forced a smile. Dad, Mom, I've been taking my medicine on time. The doctor said I have a good chance of a full recovery. You're moving back home, my dad declared. No more work for now. We'll take care of you. Next time, I'm going with you to your checkup. I had no choice but to agree. 2 days later, I walked into my uncle's roast duck shop, casually taking a seat by the entrance. Uncle, is the money ready? I questioned. He let out a cold snort, not even bothering to fake politeness anymore. I was planning to give you some in a few years, but now, dream on. You won't see a single cent. If you want proof, go ahead and bring it. Your dad was a fool for trusting me and not signing a contract. You guys are just plain naive. He sneered. I can see that your family's struggling now, but if you listen to me, I might throw you a bone out of my goodwill. Rage erupted in me. Without hesitation, I grabbed a steel pipe and smashed it into the shop's tables, chairs, and display cases. My cousin panicked. What are you all standing around for? Stop her. Sue, put that down. Customers fled in fear. The staff exchanged hesitant glances, but no one stepped up. My uncle was notorious for underpaying them, and none of them wanted to step up and be his shield. My uncle collapsed onto the floor, wailing, Stop. Stop. Sue, this stuff costs so much money. I'm begging you, don't smash anything else. I reduced the shop to ruins, feeling a deep satisfaction. Uncle, my dad trusted you because we're family. That's why he didn't sign a contract. You'll give us the money when I say so. Otherwise, nobody here is going to have a good time. A crowd had gathered and someone called the police. When they arrived, my uncle painted a vivid picture of me vandalizing his store, demanding I pay for everything. I pulled out a doctor's note showing my diagnosis of bipolar and put on my best pitiful face. I'm so sorry. I wasn't in my right frame of mind. I couldn't control my actions. I didn't mean to do it. I know an apology isn't enough, but people like me with mental issues don't deserve to live, right? The officers hesitated for a few seconds. One cop soft-heartedly tried to console me. That's not true. You're just unwell. Stay strong, life is still beautiful. My cousin snapped back to reality, shouting, She's lying. Those fake diagnosis papers cost a few bucks online. She's perfectly sane, she cusses and fights just fine. You have to arrest her. I kept my head down, staying silent. The cop glanced at my uncle and cousin before saying, We called to confirm. She does have bipolar disorder. She wasn't in the right state of mind when she smashed up the place, so she's not criminally responsible. But we've ordered her parents to keep a closer watch on her. Left with no other choice, my uncle and cousin had to accept that they have lost this time. But I knew this wasn't over. I consulted a lawyer, and he told me that disputes over business investments and profit sharing are civil matters. Since there was no signed contract, there was no legal proof. My uncle could easily spin the story and claim my dad just gave him the money as a gift. When my dad had previously called the authorities, my uncle had insisted the business wasn't profitable yet. Even when the tax office and business bureau checked the books, they couldn't find anything, because every transaction was done off the record. No one could tell if the shop was making profit or a loss. That same day, my grandmother stormed into our house from the countryside, carrying multiple bags. She looked nothing like the sickly person she pretended to be over the phone. Her face was glowing with energy. She tossed her luggage on the floor and barked at my mom. "What are you looking at? Go buy something nice to eat, and cook up a storm for me. I'll be staying here for the next 2 months. Then she scoffed. "Your big brother took care of me for so long. Now it's your turn. That's fair, right?" Without hesitation, my dad carried her bags to the guest room and said calmly, "Of course, Mom. It's my duty as a son to take care of you. I used to send $600 a month for your expenses while you stayed with my brother. Now that you're here, my brother should contribute too, don't you think?" Grandma shot him a glare. "Are you out of your mind? Do you know how much money your brother's losing because of you? His store had to shut down for 2 days. Do you have any idea how much that cost him?" She suddenly clammed up, realizing she had said too much. "Well, anyway," she continued, "I told him not to send me anything. And don't think you were being generous with that $600. Your brother spent way more than that on me every month. We just didn't want to burden you. But now you and your daughter have sabotaged his business. And you're asking for money? What audacity." I rolled my eyes and didn't bother arguing with her. Instead, my mom and I busied ourselves in the kitchen, preparing a feast: braised chicken, sweet and sour ribs, steamed bass, spicy tofu, and cordyceps fish soup. The moment we set the table, Grandma didn't wait for us to sit down. She threw one leg onto a nearby chair and started stuffing her face, splattering food and sauce all over the table. I clenched my jaw, suppressing the irritation bubbling inside me. I picked up a rib and placed it in her bowl, smiling faintly. "Grandma, you should talk to my uncle about that allowance. Our financial situation isn't great, and if we can't afford to feed you, this might be the best meal you'll get here." Her face twisted in anger. "Are you threatening me? Ray, are you just going to let your daughter talk to me like this?" My dad remained calm. "Sue is just stating facts." Grandma huffed and puffed but had nothing to say. We ate quickly and scattered back to our rooms, refusing to give her more opportunities to stir up drama. But the next day, my friend sent me a link. "Sue, is this about you?" I clicked it, and damn. In just 5 hours, the post had over 10,000 shares. The post read, "Please help me seek justice. My cousin has mental health issues, bipolar disorder. She falsely accused us of owing her money, claiming she invested $200,000 in our shop. We tried explaining, but she wouldn't listen. She destroyed our store and now hides behind her diagnosis to escape the consequences. What about us? How are we supposed to survive?" The comment section was on fire. "Ugh, I've dealt with someone like this. Just makes up stories and harasses you nonstop." Last week at the supermarket, I saw a guy flipping out because they wouldn't let him steal. He started yelling at me for avoiding him. Scared the hell out of me. Not saying all mentally ill people are bad, but some are just using it as an excuse to be terrible. One person even commented, "Where's your shop? I'll bring my friends over to support you." My cousin quickly replied with the address. "Thank you all. Your support means the world. No matter how much obstacles get thrown at me, I'll keep fighting for my business." The post kept gaining traction. Soon, even influencers were picking it up without fact-checking, painting me as a villain. And my cousin's roast duck shop? Business was booming like never before. People were lining up from morning till midnight. Then, in my private group chat, one of my friends messaged, "SUE, pin your location. We're coming." I sent it. "See you tonight. Let's make things more interesting." I changed into a fresh outfit, grabbed my keys, and headed out. Just as I reached the door, Grandma suddenly jumped in front of me. "Sue, where are you going?" "Do my laundry and massage my shoulders." I raised an eyebrow. "We have a washing machine, Grandma. And if your shoulders hurt, your beloved eldest son can treat you to a massage." She wasn't backing down. "No, you're my granddaughter. I told you to do it, so do it." "Ah, I see." She was trying to keep me from going to my uncle's shop. I smiled knowingly. Of course, Grandma. Whatever you say. I took her clothes, went to the bathroom, and dumped ink into the wash basin. Then I made her a glass of milk. Here, Grandma. This is a fancy new brand my mom bought. Costs $8 a bottle. Try it, and I'll give you that massage. She took a sip. So expensive? She tilted her head back and chugged it. Grandma feeling sleepy? I'm in. She wobbled. Then boom. Fast asleep. I nudged her. Out cold. Grabbing my keys, I walked out the door. At my cousin's shop, my friends waved me over. We barely managed to get a table. His business is booming. My cousin spotted me and immediately marched over. You better behave. There are cameras everywhere. If you want to cause trouble, I'll upload the footage online and have you canceled. I grinned. Relax, cousin. I'm just here to watch. Right then, an elderly woman collapsed onto the floor, clutching her stomach. How dare you poison me? She dashed behind the counter, ripped down all the roast ducks and stomped on them. Two middle-aged twin brothers jumped onto a table. One started singing, the other banged on the table like a drum. Customers whipped out their phones, eager to record the spectacle. My uncle grabbed a cleaver and screamed, "You psychos, get out!" One of the twins giggled and dodged. Can't catch me. And if you try, I'll come back every day and make your life hell. I sighed dramatically. Guys, come on, don't disturb my cousin's business. We should be the civilized ones here. And just like that, the chaos was only beginning. In the end, the same two cops showed up. They sighed and said, All right, what now? You've called us 3 times this month. We practically know you all by name at this point. Before my uncle could even get a word in, the middle-aged men and the old lady, who suddenly seemed to have snapped back to reality, handed over 3 psychiatric evaluation reports to the officers. What just happened? My uncle was losing his mind, scratching his head frantically. It has to be Sue. She must have been behind this. They were all sitting together just a moment ago. I blinked innocently. Uncle, you can't just throw accusations around like that. You saw me. I was trying to calm them down. You know how it is when they have an episode. It's completely out of their control. Just like last time. The cops gave us a half-hearted lecture, but the store was already trashed beyond recognition. My uncle was so furious he nearly passed out. I strutted back home in high spirits, only to bump into my grandma, who was rushing out the door. The second she saw me, she raised her hand, ready to slap me. Sue, you little wrench. You made me sleep through everything, didn't you? Your uncle's in the hospital now, and it's all your fault. Get over there and ask for his forgiveness. I grabbed her wrist and sneered. Oh, come on, Grandma. It was just 2 sleeping pills. Didn't you sleep like a baby? I don't believe in respecting my elders. You'd better watch yourself. I slammed the door in her face. My parents looked at me worried. Sue, maybe you should just stay home. I'll go talk to him and get our money back, Dad said. Don't worry, I won't let him push us around. I shook my head and smiled. No need. This will all be over soon. That evening, Grandma came back from the hospital in a mood, nitpicking everything we did. She dumped my mom's freshly made dinner straight into the trash and sneered. You're trying to poison me with leftovers, huh? Well, if I'm not eating, then no one is. She yanked my dad's only expensive dress shirt off the balcony clothesline and tossed it downstairs. Oops. My bad. The wind blew it away. She accidentally spilled a bucket of water outside my room, letting it seep in. I almost slipped when I tried to open my bedroom door. I'm getting old. I was just trying to bring it in to soak my feet before bed, but now I have to fetch more water. Sigh. My mom finally snapped. You are Ray's mother. You are Sue's grandmother. You don't just have 1 son and 1 granddaughter. We've always treated you with respect. When you were sick, it was my husband who paid for your medical bills and hired caretakers for you. How have we ever wronged you? You're playing favorites to an extreme. I'm so done with this. Grandma collapsed to the floor, wailing like a soap opera actress. Oh, woe is me. If I had known it would come to this, I would have left with your father back then. I should have abandoned you too when you were just kids. Now I stay here for a few days and my daughter-in-law is already sick of me. Have you been holding this grudge in for years? She turned to my dad. Ray, is this what you think too? After everything I've done for you, you're just waiting for me to die, aren't you? This was her go-to move. It had always worked. In the past, Dad would just let her get away with it. But this time, he didn't even bother. Mom dropped the act. I'm sick of it. You want to die? Go ahead. I won't stop you. Grandma's mouth fell open. Seeing that her usual tactics had failed, She dusted herself off and switched to plan B. Ray, control your daughter. If she dares to cause trouble at your brother's shop, I'll make sure your life is just as miserable. No one in this house will have peace. She didn't even wait for our response before storming off to call my uncle, reporting her victories like some kind of battlefield strategist. Later that night, I silently got out of bed, grabbed a kitchen knife, and sat beside Grandma's bed, staring at her. She rolled over, cracked her eyes open, and let out a blood-curdling scream. Sue! What are you doing? Help! Somebody help me. I'm your grandmother. I twirled the knife in my hand, my voice eerily calm. I'm not doing anything, Grandma. I just suddenly feel empty. Nothing excites me anymore. It feels like something's pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I tilted my head. Hey, how about you come with me? Let's go see Grandpa together. She trembled violently, scrambling off the bed and onto the floor. And no, Sue. Listen to Grandma. Don't be so extreme. There's still so much to live for. You should go outside, have some fun. She seized the moment, wiggling out from under my arm, and bolted out the door, screaming, Ray, your daughter's trying to kill me. Dad and Mom groggily stumbled out of their room. Mom, what's going on? I gently helped Grandma up. I'm sorry, Grandma. I really can't control my thoughts sometimes. If I ever slip up and do something terrible, well, I'll apologize to you in the afterlife. Dad sighed, ever the peacemaker. Mom, I already told you Sue is sick. There's nothing we can do. Just be careful, all right? You'll get used to it. Get used to it. What the hell do you? We turned around and went back to bed. The next morning, I was woken up by the sound of someone moving around in the living room. Grandma was packing her bags in a hurry. Ray, get me my kettle. I'm going back to your brother's. I'm not staying here another second. Your daughter's crazy. Who knows when I'll wake up dead one day. I won't be around to collect your corpse. Within half an hour, she was gone without looking back. Dad collapsed onto the couch and let out a long, relieved sigh. Finally, I thought I wasn't going to survive this one. Mom gave me a thumbs up. Sue, that was genius. She'll never dare to come back again. The whole knife stunt? Yeah, that was a family plan performance. She'd been making our lives hell for days. We had to do something. The only way to deal with someone like her was to make her feel that her life was in danger. Meanwhile, my little store protest had gone viral again. Even made the news. Tons of people uploaded videos, criticizing us and calling for action. Why aren't these people in a psych ward? If we stay silent today, who will protect us tomorrow? The store, which my cousin had just finished renovating, was trashed again. People sympathized with the owner. What a poor guy. Stuck with relatives like this. Is there no justice? Then, just as the internet was rallying against us, another movement popped up. You know what? If they're trying to destroy the store, we're going to keep it standing. I'm buying roast duck tomorrow. My cousin, wiping away fake tears, thanked everyone and swore he'd serve only the best quality roast duck. Business boomed overnight. Prices shot up from $25 to $60 per duck. He even put up a new sign. Authentic farm-raised duck. Then he messaged me smugly. Sue, thanks for the free marketing. I'm going to be rich soon. You are invited to my penthouse warming party. I smirked and set up my phone for a live stream. Hey everyone, I'm Sue. Let me tell you why I've been stirring things up. Then I pulled up some photos and videos. My cousin thought he'd won? He had no idea what was coming next. My cousin immediately went live on social media to clear his name. Guys, don't believe her lies. She's just jealous that we're making money and trying to bring us down. Our family runs the cleanest, most hygienic business out there. I challenged him back from my own live stream. Anyone watching this, if you're nearby, go inside and see for yourselves who's really lying. A few food vloggers who were already live streaming outside the roast duck shop started to stir. One of them approached my cousin and uncle, speaking in a calm tone. Hey, why don't you let a few of us take a look inside? We actually want to believe you, but with what she's saying, people are going to have doubts. If everything checks out, we can even vouch for you. My cousin coughed awkwardly. Maybe later? The staff is working in the kitchen right now, and they don't like being disturbed. Just then, a dark figure bolted out from the shop, grabbed one of the streamers, and dragged them toward the kitchen before anyone could react. Within seconds, they were at the kitchen entrance, cameras rolling. Inside, the staff was frantically trying to clean up, brooms swinging at cockroaches and rats scurrying across the floor. The streamer gagged and doubled over, vomiting on the spot. My cousin rushed over to block the view. You've got it all wrong. The staff is setting us up. They must have brought those roaches and rats from home. We would never. Meanwhile, my uncle quickly shut down the streamer's live feed, pulled him aside, and whispered urgently, "How much do you want to keep this quiet? Everyone's just trying to make a living. Name your price." They didn't realize that the crowd of onlookers had heard every word. Furious, the streamer snapped, "Are you trying to bribe me? I swear, I'm exposing your shop." The scene at the roast duck shop spiraled out of control. Angry customers who felt deceived started shouting and cursing at the owners. Some even knocked over tables and chairs. The very people who had defended them online quickly turned against them. I can't believe we supported them. We even promoted their business. And they can't even maintain basic hygiene. Now I don't trust a single word they've said. Maybe the jealousy claim was a lie too. This is the worst. I've been ordering their food on Uber Eats all week and even recommended it to my coworkers. I feel sick. My cousin scrambled to fix the situation, hiring workers overnight to scrub the kitchen spotless. He then claimed that business had been so good recently that they just hadn't had time to clean. He went on an apology tour, but my family wasn't buying it. He and my uncle bombarded us with calls, all of which we ignored. That night, my grandmother and uncle stormed over to our house, screaming at the top of their lungs. We turned the TV volume up to drown them out. When they finally tired themselves out, I threw out the same demand as before. Pay back the money my dad invested, and this ends here. You've made way more than $200,000 over the years. Think about it. I have nothing to lose. After some hesitation, my uncle sighed. We only started making real profit recently. I can give you $50,000 now, and the rest when we earn more in the future. If you keep pushing, it won't be good for anyone. I agreed, unblocked him just long enough to receive the money, then blocked him again. Though the scandal had hurt their business, my cousin still had some customers who hadn't heard the news. So I took things a step further. I exposed the truth behind his authentic farm-raised ducks. I posted photos showing that he had actually been using cheap, hormone-injected factory-produced mass pre-cooked vacuum-packed ducks that cost only $3 each. This time, customers flooded the shop, demanding refunds and calling him a scam. The pressure was too much. He had to shut the shop down. Then, I got a call from a chef who used to work at the shop. "It's done. Now, can you send me the money you promised?" I sent the payment right away. I had bribed the chef long ago. He had grown to resent my cousin and was more than happy to help me. All the hygiene scandal and factory-produced mass pre-cooked ducks photos evidence had come from him. But my cousin wasn't done yet. He was smart. He set up a new online restaurant under a fake name, posing as an outraged customer boycotting his old shop. This time, he claimed to sell only freshly slaughtered, truly authentic roast duck. Sales skyrocketed, 300 orders in just a week. Then I received the ultimate weapon, a lab test report. I had the final nail in his coffin. I ordered from his new shop and tipped off journalists and the police. Together, we followed the delivery driver to his hidden kitchen. It was in a shack next to a garbage dump. 2 delivery riders were waiting outside for their orders. My cousin had completely sealed off the shop. No one was allowed inside. Even the delivery guys had to wait outside. A journalist pinched his nose. "How long do we have to stand here? The stench is unbearable." I glanced at my phone. The delivery guy texted me. I smirked. "Now." Just before we barged in, we overheard my uncle laughing. "So what if the shop shut down? My son's smart. We have plenty of ways to make money. Oh, and I didn't wash my hands after using the bathroom. Let's see how they like that. Serves them right for messing with us." Fury flashed across the journalist's face. The police stormed in. In seconds, my cousin and uncle were caught red-handed, packing roast ducks in their filthy kitchen. A journalist even punched my cousin in the face. "You heartless crooks. You deserve worse than this." Cameras flashed, capturing everything. "Let us go. We didn't break any laws." My cousin screamed. "Yeah, this is Sue's doing. How much did she pay you to ruin us? We'll pay double." The police ignored them. From a corner cabinet, they pulled out a giant stash of Sudan red dye. "You didn't break any laws? Then what's this? Take them away." Sudan red is an industrial dye, not a food additive. It's carcinogenic. My cousin and uncle had been using it to make their duck's skin look more appealing. When I saw the evidence, I shook with rage. All this just for money? The scandal made headlines. Public outrage erupted. Some even called for the death penalty. Customers who had eaten their food rushed to hospitals for checkups. Fortunately, no serious cases surfaced, just pure luck. People flooded my inbox, thanking me for exposing them and apologizing for doubting me. I used the attention to host a new live stream. This time, I wasn't alone. Alongside me were a sweet old lady and twin middle-aged men. I had met them months ago while undergoing voluntary therapy at a psychiatric hospital. They, however, had been forcibly institutionalized. I was never schizophrenic, the old lady chuckled. My children just didn't want to take care of me. Our relatives faked records saying we had severe depression to steal our inheritance, the twins added. One shocking revelation after another, viewers were stunned. Investigations followed. Justice was served. My cousin and uncle stood trial. They were convicted of defamation, intentional harm, and violating food safety laws. My cousin got 15 years. My uncle, 12. All their illegal earnings were confiscated. As for my grandmother, she raged at me until she fell down the stairs. A stroke left her paralyzed from the waist down. My dad paid for 3 months of her care with my uncle's money. That's all we can do. Good luck. As for me, I kept going to therapy step by step until my doctor finally smiled. So, congratulations. You're recovered.